I'm Scott Binsack, and thank you for joining me. Tonight, I'm going to be covering national and world news from March 10th to the 11th, getting caught up, as well as covering what's trending on Facebook, and that we have a major storm coming, again, another nor'easter, the third, within basically 2 weeks to hit the Northeast, and it's under Winter Storm SKYLAR. And I'm going to be discussing near the end of the show that the Earth wobble has worsened, as well as our magnetic shields are breaking down, causing even more havoc across the globe. What's trending on Facebook is more of our White House reality TV show BS, in my opinion. And I want everybody to remember, MFA is not for the left nor the right, but the truth in the middle. And I truly hope, that people in this country by now have learned that this two-party system is created to divide, to disinform the public. It is not about reuniting America. This is about dividing America with this two-party system. Both sides are dirty. And it is time that Americans stand up and stop the two-party system and end up with the American Freedom Party in the middle. People who care about America and stop wanting to try to divide America. Because nothing the left and the right do brings America together. It is dividing America. And stories like this continue to trend, not just on Facebook, but on Twitter and other areas. Trump lawyers want to stop the 60 Minutes show from airing Stormy Daniels' interview report. This entire matter with Stormy Daniels is, I think, a disgrace for this country, where you're talking about a sitting president having an affair with a porn star that his lawyer Cohen paid to cover up. And you're going to see a lot come out of this because it's not going away. Along with you seeing more indictments come down, more cooperating witnesses in the Mueller probe. And it's just going to continue and to get worse. And you have to ask yourself, first, Donald Trump has come out and said, nope, that's not true. Then it's come out that his lawyer paid him off, and supposedly from his own money. Then Cohen comes out and said he's pissed off that he didn't get paid back from Donald Trump. Then it's come out that Stormy Daniels, in fact, has had, as I said at the time, it was a true story while everyone else was calling it fake news on the far right. And it's not fake news. And it's not the first porn star or adult star that Donald Trump's been with or the like. This is madness. This is just complete madness, and it's going to continue to trend in all different types of stories until someone stops it, because this is what news is about today. Drama. It's like a bad reality show. So this is what's trending number one, that Trump lawyers want to stop. And you have to ask yourself, why did they want to stop the interview? If Donald Trump, like he said, didn't have an affair with Stormy Daniels, he didn't, but he's lied. Okay? Donald Trump has lied about so many things, it's pathetic. And he continues to lie, and his base continues to love it, and that's the scary part. Okay? Man makes comments just like Xi Jinping, I call him ping pong, from China, just passed the new resolution in their country that he can become, and he is, the standing president of China for forever, indefinitely. Okay? And he thought, hey, maybe we should look at that in the United States. No, Donald Trump, we should not look that there should be no term limits for presidents in the United States. We are a republic built on a democratic society. And I don't mean the Democrats themselves. I mean the democracy, my word. No, we don't need non-term limits for presidents. The man is already getting ready to run for 2020. And his new slogan, keep America great. Well, get ready. That man's not going to make 2020. Mark my words on it, they will not. And he's also sought out one of the best impeachment lawyers who used to be one of Bill Clinton's impeachment lawyers. I'm telling you now, the man will not be president in 2020. And any of you far righters want to get angry at me, I don't care. I've been yet to be wrong. And he is heading into some very serious, dangerous waters, and that will continue as more information comes out and more people turn against him and more people go before the grand jury and the like. The only way for Donald Trump to get out of this is to fire everybody, but that's only going to set it aside for a little while. And at that moment, everything will break loose of all the evidence that Mueller has. It will be leaked to every news station across the globe. Trust what I tell you. This is not a joke. Shooter had sought healing from California Vet Center, having to do with this last shooting when Albert Wong returned from an Army deployment in Afghanistan in 2013. He knew it had affected him. He had trouble adjusting to regular days. These shooting stories are all matching the same MO. That whether it be a child shooter in Parkland, or whether it be the church shooter or the California shooter, that they all had these psychological problems and serious shit going on in their brains. And it's not some coincidence. They have all had some psychological issues going on, some very serious and bizarre behavior, and even Stephen Paddock was acting very bizarre. From a very reliable, believe it or not, even though she's a prostitute, she's a reliable source, that he was acting very, very bizarre the days before this shooting. And I will tell you now, as part of our investigation series with Las Vegas, that Stephen Paddock was a patsy. Okay? I'm not going to reveal whether he was a cooperating patsy or just a patsy yet, but in our part 2 of re-examining Las Vegas, I will explain that to all of you. Also, the video I did to this group the other day about confirming that there was a .240 weapon used in the Vegas shooting, along with another weapon. That video will be put up on YouTube probably by tomorrow. It has to be cut and edited for the public. A lot of great reviews on that show, and we have discovered, with my special guest, another key piece of evidence that no one has picked up having to do with the guns in Stephen Paddock's room that are very, very key, and I'm surprised no one has picked it up, especially experts on guns. We will be revealing that as well in the edited version of the show I did the other night, so stay tuned for that. Next thing, Christine Elliott meets new Ontario PC leader Doug Ford, gives her support. Christine Elliott met Doug Ford on Sunday afternoon, threw her support to him, and abandoned any legal challenge to the results of the Ontario PC leadership race, CBS News has learned. Elliott won on votes, Ford won on points. California. Trump heading to state he loves to hate. Donald Trump is coming at last to the state he loves to hate. He'll be setting foot in California on Tuesday for his first time as president, looking at the specific different companies for the Great Wall that he wants to build between Mexico and the United States. There are several different versions that have been built, and he'll be looking and examining these walls from all the different companies. Pay attention to this. California is going after Trump to not allow them to build through certain parts of California, and they'll be using the environmental concerns to try to stop it. Do I think it will be successful? No. New England. Winter storm may become third nor'easter to target Northeast. I will be getting into this more after we go through what's trending right now on Facebook. A stormy system, also known as Storm SKYLAR, moving across parts of the south, is expected to intensify on Monday and become a nor'easter, bringing heavy snow. 3 nor'easters in a row. And bomb cyclone, first one, 3 nor'easters in a row, and more are coming. I'm telling you, as this year goes on, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Next, trending. A couple more things. None involved in legal battle against Katy Perry dies during court hearing. Christ. In the midst of a years-long battle attempting to prohibit Katy Perry from purchasing a former Catholic convent, one of the nuns dies during the court hearing. MSN, 7 hours ago. Pittsburgh. The 64 most outrageous lines from Donald Trump's untethered Pennsylvania speech. Once again, Donald Trump has gone off script and went nutty again. Does not listen to what his speechwriters write for him. Instead, goes on praising himself more than the candidate he's there to try to help, and this is the problem. Trump traveled to Western Pennsylvania Saturday night on a rescue mission. State Rep Rip Saccone is fighting for that Republican slot. And what does Donald Trump do? As normal. Comes in and starts ranting and raving about himself and how wonderful he is and all the above. Unbelievable. Next, Salisbury diners told to wash possessions. Up to 5,000 Salisbury pub goers and diners are told to wash possessions after nerve agent traces are found. This is the story coming from the UK, where a spy was attacked with a nerve agent. Him and his daughter were attacked. And this is truly believed to be tied to Putin, as I believe it is, to shut him up or to punish him for defecting and going against Russia. This story should get interesting as it gets worse. Nothing will become of Putin, even though the UK says that they will retaliate. No one's touching Putin if he had anything to do with this, but this is Russia's way. So I try to explain to people, Russia, Putin, he's a gangster. You screw Russia, you screw Putin, one way or the other, they're going to come back and get you. What just came out right now that just hit number one at the top, Trump turn off pundits who mention somewhat low approval rating. President Trump in a tweet on Sunday said viewers should not watch pundits who discuss his somewhat low approval ratings. The more and more and more that comes out from this man is becoming a dictator. He tells his followers, do not watch certain channels who say that he has low ratings. So all of these channels that are doing all these polls, you're telling me all the polls are wrong? He does have low ratings in the United States. And now he's telling his followers, don't watch this, just like everything's fake news. And they did a study, by the way. Do you know that 90% of the stories, or 95% of the stories that Donald Trump say are fake turned out to be true? Just so you know. This is misleading the public, and this is what dictators do. And he got approved for his parade on Veterans Day. Okay. Except there will be no tanks because they will harm the roads in Washington. We do not have military parades in this country. Dictators do. He says it's to honor the vets now. You see, he switches this around. He originally wanted it for himself and to have the United States as a parade, his military parade, because he saw France have it, Russia has it, Kim Jong-un has it. Dictators have it. Saddam Hussein used to have it. This country is sliding down a slippery slope of bullshit is what's going on. And this is why he even talks about how China has no term limits for its presidents and he jokes about it saying we should we should visit that someday. He wasn't joking. Believe me what I'm telling you. He wasn't joking. Then he goes out there and he turns around and said, he had most of the women vote in the United States. No, pay attention. He had 52% of the white American vote and like 4% of the African American vote and I think 12 or 14, whatever it was, of the Hispanic and Latino votes. This is the United States is full of all races, creeds, and colors. It is turning into, and then he's talking about having the death penalty for drug dealers. No disrespect, drug dealing is horrible. And because he said, why? Well, I talked to China, and Xi Jinping says, well, we don't have drug problems here because the rate is for, the outcome for dealing drugs is death. The U.S. Supreme Court would never allow the death penalty for drug dealers. Constitutional amendments, we follow rules. We have checks and balances here. We don't have a dictator at the helm. This man is turned into a dictator. And that's the plan probably from the beginning, from what I'm starting to gather from a lot more information that's coming forward. Madness, complete madness. And that the American people, he is brainwashing this base of his, this far-right base, and I'm ashamed to say that MFA supported this man. I'm sorry to tell you. Yes, he's done some good things with some of and the steel tariffs and things of that nature. Pay attention. You're going to see a very big tariff war be going on. It is not going to be good for this country at all. It will not. It will not be. And as China gets stronger and Russia gets stronger with its gold and China with its banking and China with its military, and now he's talenting that of having a wonderful setup for this meeting with Kim Jong-un. Let me explain something to all of you, and I'm going to tell you what this is all about quickly before we get into the world news. South Korea and Kim Jong-un learned for sure that Donald Trump and the United States was going to preemptively strike them after April 1st. Trust what I tell you. It's not rhetoric. They have plans to strike North Korea after April 1st. And I can tell you this coming from military inside sources, top military inside sources. I'm not Alex Jones with the bullshit. I'm telling you, the plans are there, ready to go, and they were going to execute it if they could not talk Donald Trump out of striking North Korea. Now, what better way to get out of that? South Korea invites North Korea to the Olympics. They start to talk. They know right away, listen, we got to stop this guy. And they know he's not going to be in power for long, okay? Pay attention to what I'm telling you. So they come up with this plan because they do not want North Korea being struck. South Korea does not want nor China nor Russia for us to strike them and create a major possible World War III, okay? Or others to be harmed in South Korea. So they get together, they come up with this plan. Kim offers to talk with Donald Trump, gets friendly with South Korea. South Korea brings the message. What Kim is doing is stalling. Okay? He's not going to give up his nuclear weapons. He may say he wants to. He may talk about possibly putting them, on hold and not becoming a nuclear power. He's doing this deliberately to avoid being struck by war. And everybody will play their part in this. Russia, China, South Korea, and the United States. And Trump took the bait because Trump wants to be the first one to meet with Kim Jong-un and possibly stop, him from his nuclear weapons. No, they are playing this man like a fiddle, and the proof has come out that every country that sucks up to Donald Trump and his ego gets whatever he wants. Donald Trump shuts up. He goes back down to normal. Yay, I did it myself. This is all about stroking his ego. Listen to what I'm telling you. And to avoid the United States striking him. So this is what they're going to do. They'll plan this meeting. They'll have this meeting. They'll play this along because Kim Jong-un has been told, I'm telling you, he's been told, settle this for now. Do what you're going to do because the Korean Peninsula does not want the United States there. I don't care how close we are friends with South Korea. They do not want the U.S. missile system, defense system there, the THAAD. They do not, neither does China or Russia. And they do not want a U.S. big presence on that peninsula. What better way? So now you're going to see the attention turn towards Netanyahu, Israel against Iran, United States against Iran, U.S. against Syria, carving out its piece of land. And while these talks are getting planned and no one knows what's going to happen, but I'm telling you now, it is a plan put together by the South Koreans may allow us to be there. They're still Koreans. That's their country. That's their peninsula. China has very big pressure over South Korea, even though we are there. And this is their way just to stall because they know, I'm telling you now, they do not expect Donald Trump to be in power for much longer. I mean, probably within a year or so or less. So this is what they're doing. I'm telling you now. There is no big, great Nobel Peace Prize for this to do this. It's a big scam by their side, and Trump is falling for it. And he will. They stroke his ego. Okay? This is what I'm telling you. This is exactly what's happening. They are playing Donald Trump's ego to protect themselves from being preemptively struck because we have planned to strike North Korea, as I've been telling you for months. And that is from solid military sources. And I even put up information from notices the military has gotten and others. Winter storm SKYLAR to bring heavy blowing snow to Northeast. Blizzard conditions possible in New England. Not possible. They're coming. Not possible. They're coming. They are coming.
Winter storm SKYLAR has been named as we watch cleanup continuing for a lot of locations across the Northeast just recently impacted by winter storms Riley and also more recently than that Quinn. So yep, we got another one on our hands, and again it is winter storm SKYLAR. Now SKYLAR is going to have some impacts across the mid-Atlantic, so as we go into the day on Monday, note that there will be states like West Virginia, Virginia, East Tennessee, North North Carolina that we'll see some snowfall and certainly some very gusty winds. Some spots like DC, you really might not see a lot in terms of total accumulation, but as we go forward into later in the day Monday, places like New York could see generally around 6 inches or less. Boston, some of the forecast projections I've seen for here go more than a foot. Most locations across the Northeast could easily pick up somewhere in the 4 to 8 inch range. But remember, there's still a lot of uncertainty with this on the exact snow totals. We can tell you, though, there's going to be cities like Boston that get absolutely blasted with wind, and there is the threat of power outages, certainly trees coming down on top of power lines and possibly homes. Just be aware of that potential. Here's a look at the snowfall forecast. Remember, this is set to change from Winter Storm SKYLAR through Wednesday. We've got several locations like Boston that could go through some transitional periods of rain changing over to snowfall. Please be aware of that as we go from Monday night into Tuesday, not just for places like Boston, but also for New York and cities south of here.
I see people asking, should they change their travel plans tomorrow? Again, 3 nor'easters, big ones, okay? And I have to travel myself tomorrow. I'm going to Ohio to meet with one of our officers at MFA, and I may be considering looking at this storm depending over the next few hours how I see it, because I do not want to get stuck at airports. I have no time or patience for it. Just saying. These type of storms are going to continue to worsen, and we keep breaking records this year, all-time records all over the country and the world. I am working on putting together an incredible half an hour to an hour presentation of the world weather around the globe over the past January, February, 60 days, just to show you all what has happened around the world. I will not be talking. It will be showing you all of this with music and show you what is taking place in what countries and where and how devastating it is and what else is coming.
The second nor'easter in the span of a week is expected to drop heavy snow and hurl strong winds across parts of the storm-weary East Coast. The area has already been pummeled by the deadly bomb cyclone. More than 40 million people from Philadelphia to Boston are under winter storm warnings and watches, and nearly 2,000 flights have been canceled. The storm could bring more heavy, wet snow and coastal flooding to the northern mid-Atlantic and the Northeast.
According to a report by NBC News, over 1 million utility customers remained without power Thursday after a blustery nor'easter slammed the Northeast with over 2 feet of snow. Hundreds of flights remained grounded as airports struggled to clear runways to allow planes to land.
Okay, just made up my mind. That's all I had to say. This is from the second nor'easter. Nope. I'm putting off my travel one day. One day. I'm going to put off my travel one day. Hopefully I can take care of that. I should be able to because of the storm and how I book it. Because I'm not traveling and sitting in no airport, I will be like, forget about it. I'll be throwing shit by the time I'm sitting there an hour. They're like, for real? You got to go. I'm telling you right now.
The storm reportedly proved deadly in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, where a man was burned to death when he drove over a downed wire in his SUV.
Horrible.
In Suffern, New York, an 88-year-old woman was reportedly struck and killed by a falling tree.
On Friday, an emergency aid convoy crossed the front lines of the besieged rebel enclave of eastern Ghouta and delivered much-needed supplies while braving airstrikes in the area amid a fierce government offensive. According to a report by Reuters, a Red Cross official in Syria said that 13 food trucks were allowed into the town of Douma to deliver aid before returning to government-controlled territory. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that 950 civilians have died in the government offensive. Damascus, with the support of Moscow, has claimed the assault is necessary to prevent rebel shelling of a nearby capital and end the rule of Islamist insurgents over civilians in eastern Ghouta, where some 400,000 people live.
For fisherman Atsushi Fujita, the open waters of the Tohoku coast, swelling beneath a hazy blue sky, are where he earns his living, pulling oysters from the seabed.
Pay attention to this story. This is a very interesting story because Japan knows what's coming. And what did I tell you? What did I tell you all? I'm telling you by the end of the year. So listen to this story from Al Jazeera about tsunami walls being built around Japan because this is serious. As I've tried to tell you, I predict by the end of this year, Japan is going to suffer some very, very serious earth changes from earthquakes, tsunami, etc.
He turns to the shore. The rolling hills of his home have been obscured by high concrete walls.
I feel like I'm working inside a fence. It feels like we're in jail, even though we haven't done anything bad.
In the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, waves slammed into coastal cities. 2,000 people were killed in Atsushi's hometown. The Fukushima nuclear reactor was swamped, leaking radiation into the surrounding land and sea. The original tsunami barrier was just 4 meters high, but the waves just swept right over it. Now Japan is building seawalls 15 meters high. They offer more protection, but not everyone thinks they're worth it.
I think about 50 years ago we used to bring our kids here and enjoy the beautiful ocean and bay area while driving, but there's not even a trace of that left.
I don't think we need a sea wall. If we could see the wave coming, we could shout run, but because of the wall, we can't see anything.
Many local authorities refused to give planning permission for new homes until the walls were built.
After the construction of the seawall was confirmed, I was able to get permission to rebuild my bed and breakfast. That is why I can't say things like, the wall should be lower or we don't need it. It's thanks to the wall that I could rebuild, and now I have a job.
And the oyster fishing has improved because the tsunami stirred up the seabeds. Some complain tourism will be affected because the walls obscure the views. But others say they're willing to pay that price for protection from Mother Nature. Rob Matheson, Al Jazeera.
This child is part of a growing humanitarian crisis. One of 2 million children at risk of dying from malnutrition in the Kasai region in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Intercommunal conflicts have been escalating here since 2016. Similar violence across the country has led to more than 4.5 million people being internally displaced. That's nearly half of the country's population. The humanitarian community has launched its largest ever appeal for the Democratic Republic of Congo, asking for nearly $1.7 billion.
So 2 million kids suffering from acute severe malnutrition who are at risk of dying. But what is clear is when you're looking at numbers of this magnitude, the urgency couldn't be greater.
The World Food Programme emphasized the need for urgent assistance.
In the Kasai region alone, 3.2 million people are severely hungry. That's 1 in 4 people. Malnourished children at risk of dying are 300,000 at risk of dying. Just think of that, 300,000 little kids.
The UN's humanitarian chief plans to visit Kasai next month to raise awareness.
The drama of the Democratic Republic of the Congo is falling in the shadows of the horrific wars in Syria and in Yemen. The Congo has become completely neglected and forgotten as a mega crisis. Indeed, hundreds of thousands of children may starve to death.
The humanitarian community is holding its first ever Democratic Republic of Congo donor conference in Geneva in April. Hannah Hoxter, Al Jazeera.
Thousands of cheerleaders may have been exposed to mumps last.
Before we get into this next story, I want to point something out to everybody. It has just come out that if all the world's billionaires, right, were to get together and just take a small portion of their money and give it for that humanitarian crisis, really give it to where it goes directly to where these Young children and families need these to stop these crises. The world could be out of this situation, but they don't want to do that. They're doing what they want to do, which is population control and thus killing of the future generation with children with disease, famine, and the other, including that of Yemen, which is the United States' fault, okay? Along with Saudi Arabia, because the United States is permitting the Saudis to have a blockade of Yemen, okay, and their supplies, and like to blame it on others, but it's their fault. The United States could get Saudi Arabia to do whatever it wanted.
This month, at a national competition in Dallas, health officials sent a letter to attendees of the National Cheerleaders Association All-Star National Championship informing them that someone with the illness had attended the event. More than 23,000 athletes and 2,600 coaches participated in the competition from February 23rd to 25th at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas.
The mumps.
Many traveled from out of state, which means that they could potentially infect many more people. Mumps is known for its symptoms of puffy cheeks and a swollen jaw. It may be accompanied by a fever, headache, loss of appetite, and fatigue.
We've seen modern cities grapple with historic, seemingly never-ending droughts before. That is nothing new. But the situation now unfolding in Cape Town, South Africa is something new. A major city, a thriving global tourism destination at that, on the cusp of running dry. For the 3.7 million some residents in Metro Cape Town, South Africa's oldest and second most populous urban area, Day Zero, the date the city's depleted reservoirs are expected to officially hit empty, looms ominously. Day Zero was initially calculated to occur on April 22nd, although it has been periodically pushed back due to rain and water-saving measures. On March 6th, city officials pushed the date back to August 27th, with one major caveat. Residents must maintain current water restrictions, 50 liters per person per day. The updated Day Zero is also dependent.
So now, again, as I stated, and I even stated over a year and change ago, water on this planet was going to become the main factor and a big need around the globe. So ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. We have salt water all over this planet. More water on this planet, Earth, than anything else, than land. Water. All you need is a desalination plant, and you will have all the pure water you want. Countries like Israel and other Middle Eastern countries use desalination, and California is now finally starting to do it as well. We could solve the Earth's water crisis problem with desalination. That's simple. Why don't we do it? Ask yourself this question. Why don't we do it? Why don't all these other countries do it? Why doesn't the UN get involved, this great, the great controlling UN, get involved and press mandates to start building desalination plants? The military does it when they need water. We would have all the clean water we want on this planet by using desalination plants. Just ask yourself why we create these crises. We have these crises and we do not solve this problem with just simple desalination. And if the UN was the great world body that it's supposed to be to help the world and the great global powers, we would have desalination plants all over this country, all over the world, including in our own country where California suffers droughts, etc. We would not need water. We have enough water on this planet. All you need to do is desalinate it and create these plants. And why don't billionaires invest in these desalination plants or the UN or other? Just keep that in the back of your mind when you see all these water crises, even in the United States, drought crises, and other areas.
On how much rainfall occurs during South Africa's upcoming winter rain season, which runs from April to October.
Zastaw mej, bracia, For the second time in less than a week, the northeastern United States is being battered by storms, closing schools, grounding planes, and knocking out electricity to tens of thousands of customers. As it made its way up the coast, the nor'easter brought thunder snow.
Now we're having our third. As I said, we're getting caught up on news. This is from March 10th, 9th and 10th. We're catching up on news, and we have our new storm nor'easter SKYLAR on the way up, as I said in the beginning. I do not know what that part of the news was playing with the candles and the singing. I do not know what that was. It was in the middle of this news show, so I do not know what that is. So I apologize. But there was a gathering somewhere in Europe, I assume, people getting together to pray or to protest something in a peaceful manner.
Snowfall mixed with booming thunder and flashes of lightning. Thousands of flights, trains and buses have been cancelled, and authorities have warned residents to stay off the roads.
Kandi's Temple of the Tooth is up there on the must-see list of tourists coming to Sri Lanka. Millions are drawn to the island's serenity and natural beauty. But that image has taken a hit after the attacks by Sinhalese nationalists on the minority Muslim community in Kandy.
We had to pass the area which was under curfew, and so we had to go to the police and get a special permit to go through. And that was quite exhausting and annoying. Also, we had to do a detour, which was 3 hours longer than
60 kilometers. I want to bring up another point that has come into the mainstream news. They're trying to get rid of Al Jazeera in the United States, other countries like Israel, which Israel's already kicked out RT News. And it is not because it is fake news, it is because it is true news. So pay attention, they are desensitizing. Okay? The censorship is getting bigger and bigger. Al Jazeera tells a lot of true news stories that people don't see from around the world, as well as so does RT, even though it's a Russian-based news organization. They are trying to remove them. They have already removed them from Israel. And now the United States is trying to ban RT and Al Jazeera from being shown in the United States. What does that tell you as well? And then, as they brought up, Donald Trump is telling people, don't watch any news channels or any places that tell you that his ratings are low. Or don't read the Washington Post or the New York Times because it's fake news. No, I will tell you something. The New York Post and the Washington and the New York Times have more true news than probably anyone. Yes, it has been proven that some of their former reporters, investigative journalists, were working with the CIA to keep the Kennedy story alive, that when it just came out. Yes, there's a plane crash breaking in New York. I believe our helicopter crash in New York. We will get to that when I'm done with that helicopter crash. I believe I see it breaking on my news. I will get to that in a second. Let's finish the world news, and before I go into about the Earth wobble, we will bring this story then about a helicopter crashing.
expected.
Yeah. And on the road we saw destroyed things, destroyed machines and magazines and so on. Yes.
Sri Lanka's Prime Minister knows the violence has impacted his country's image.
These unwise acts carried out by a small group have done great social and financial damage to the country. Tourists were greatly inconvenienced, and this has dealt a blow to the tourist industry.
Government assessors are now drawing up lists of businesses that...
I'm going to interrupt this. I'm going to interrupt this for 1 second. Okay? 2 killed in helicopter crash in New York's East River. We will get to that story shortly, but I'm being told there are 2 killed in the helicopter crash in New York's East River. I think it was a tourist helicopter. We will find out. Somebody is asking me in here if MFA or I could help Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you all something, and I'm going to say it again respectfully. Donald Trump is not who you think he is. Donald Trump is dirty, very dirty. Since the inception, Taj Mahal, money laundering, Russian mob, Italian mob, money laundering for many corporations. I guess you haven't noticed that, like Trump International Hotel down in Panama, I shared a video of them chipping Trump's name off of it. Get ready. They're going to start chipping Trump's name off many hotels. Okay? As more and more evidence breaks of what's involved with the Trump organization and how dirty it is and where they got their money from. Okay? Listen to what I'm telling you. And this is not personal, left or right. I'm going to tell you again. I have learned one big lesson a year ago and now all the way through. I will never change my mind. I will never be part of the left or the right ever again. Politics is bad enough, but with two-party system, it has deliberately been created, and I'm preparing a special show to prove to the world that the two-party system has been created, and it will be a documentary-style show. We're going to be getting into lots of documentaries with MFA TV, not long ones, short ones, to get the point right out to people. And I'm happy to announce, and I will announce now, we, as I told you, have an exclusive on the Montana prison system, okay, with females being raped, have to have forced sex, fetuses being flushed down toilets. It goes all the way up to the governor of Montana. And over 130 cases. I have signed that exclusive news story to MFA News. And we will be the ones, it's been broken on mainstream media just in Montana. Okay? It has not hit CNN or Fox majorly yet, but I will make sure that an MFA News will be breaking this, and we also have the contract for their media contract for the whistleblower to be put on other channels, news shows, and for her book and everything. We are protecting the whistleblower on the Montana prison system. I know what this is like. They chose MFA News and myself to bring this story to the world over the New York Times, ABC's 2020, Dateline, all the above. Because they know I have experience in this area and they know I will protect them. This is a massive story coming your way from MFA News. Massive story coming up. Okay? And we have the exclusive. What's going on in the female Montana prison system, and there's only one female prison in Montana, will shock your conscience. And we have all the evidence, and we have the exclusive whistleblowers signed to contract with MFA News. Women being sodomized, whether they be in prison or forced and being raped by guards or other, and officers, or marrying officers after having sexual relations. And there's one main prisoner, famous female prisoner, running the whole show in there. And she's going to be brought down as well. And I'm going to make sure that they're all brought down. And I will put my neck on the line to protect this whistleblower and bring that story to the world. And we are in the middle of this at this moment, but they are signed. And I can assure you this is massive, up to 130 plus inmates, tons of exclusive evidence. She will be a guest on my show, and so will others, because its story needs to be brought, and it already started to hit mainstream media when they reached me, and they started to get the calls from the New York Times and the person was recommended to me.
That are to be compensated. Many Muslim families have seen a lifetime's work go up in flames after their properties were attacked. But the curfew imposed has meant lost income for almost every large and small business in Kandy, which had to close as the security forces tried to contain the violence.
We're paying a rate like $75 a day for this place, and for the salaries and electricity.
You know, I have to say this bothers me too, because I'm going to say something. Not all Muslims in the world are bad, okay? It's the same thing with any people. Not all these people are bad people, and their communities are being attacked, and they have nothing to do with any Allah Akbar and all this crazy stuff and terrorist type actions. These are good people, good hardworking people. Okay? And I also don't like that New World Order and our country and them use them with these refugee crises from Syria and all over to control the Muslims and move them all over the planet for their own monetary gain, as well as to spread their message and use these people. Okay? And they are using these people in many instances, and then they group them all together and categorize them as all bad, and they're not all bad at all. There's good and bad in every race. There's good and bad in every race. And to see their homes terrorized and their children and their families is very wrong, because you cannot categorize, and I don't like racism. I do not like racism. Every race has its good side and bad side. Every race. That means all of us. All of us. And people seem to lose sight of that. And that's what Donald Trump knows. Donald Trump's side is pushing this racist, serious issue. And that's true. He's just had people even recently, his financial advisor, when he left, he was going to leave when Donald Trump talked about white supremacy over one of the other groups, if you remember back when they got out of hand with the riots and things. He was going to retire. He was going to resign then because he did not like it. Okay, that's correct, Rob. Segregation. He was going to resign then. Just like immigrants coming to this country, do I believe they should be vetted? Of course. Do I believe that certain ones from certain countries that are terrorist bound should not be coming here? Of course. Okay, but that does not mean you stop our smeltering pot in the United States from growing the way it is from immigration. Right? People keep wanting to lock all these people out and kick them out, and they're not even bad people who have worked here hard and done that. And I keep telling you, you're going to create a crisis in this country. You're going to watch the jobs and products and produce and everything go up through the roof and housing go down, because you will not have enough people to fill those positions, that from cleaning my hotel room to whatever. I'm just telling you, because Americans will not do it. They will not do those jobs that the immigrants will do, because they're too, morally, their morals are in the frickin' shitter. Okay? They're too good for that. They're too good to go pick, strawberries in the field. They're too good to go frame a house. They're too good to go, clean a hotel room and get a job and work very hard. Most of them, not all of them. I'm not trying to categorize all of Americans that way. I'm saying a lot of America is that way. Americans, a lot of them are spoiled. They're very spoiled, and they love to complain and don't do nothing about it. And America creates its own situation because people here do not stand up for what the truth is and what our true constitutional rights are in this country. So they will keep taking them away.
Water and the taxes, everything, and the bank loans, interest, all together it's almost like $175 a day.
80% of tourists who come to Sri Lanka include candy on their itinerary. The government is very sensitive to threats to tourists and to tourism. There were more than 2 million foreign visitors to Sri Lanka last year, bringing in more than $3.2 billion in foreign exchange. So while the authorities were very quick to put out a warning telling foreigners not to come to Kandy when trouble flared, as soon as calm returned, that warning was just as quickly withdrawn. A national state of emergency is in place until Monday, and there's still an overnight curfew. The authorities are hoping the worst is now over. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Kandy.
The delegates gathering to discuss how best to save the seas in the World Ocean Summit. There's a textbook example of what not to do in the very town that they flew into, Cancun. It attracted 7 million international visitors just last year, but financial success has meant abandoning the principles of sustainability that the summit is trying hard to promote.
So changing the way the territory was conformed into a touristic area really brought lots of problems because, for example, we started to lose these natural barriers for natural disasters, not only the coral reefs, but also the mangroves. And once you do this transformation, you cannot go back easily.
Mangroves have been ripped out to make way for development. It reflects a global trend. More than 30% of the unique trees crucial for storing carbon dioxide have been destroyed worldwide. Cancun's lagoon and seas have been polluted. That, together with global warming, has damaged the Mesoamerican reef, the largest in the Western Hemisphere. Worldwide, over 3/4 of reefs are under threat. Cancun is like holding up a mirror to the world on what happens when urban development and tourism explode, largely unrestricted by authorities. It might look good for now, but environmentalists say that here and elsewhere, time is running out. But just as globally, here there's a local fight back going on. This project is one of several farming coral to replenish the damaged reef, one piece at a time. It's the key to the ocean ecosystem.
Reefs and corals generate so many habitats for fish, mollusks, crustaceans. It's as if they were an oasis in the desert.
Fishing cooperatives working with authorities and NGOs are enforcing no-catch zones. The fishermen themselves monitor the protected areas and have seen biomass go up by more than 400%.
If we didn't do this now, we'd only be thinking short term. The little we have now would disappear.
The state government, long lax in holding hoteliers and developers to account, says it's also now on board.
There is a serious commitment from the government to focus on the environment because he recognizes that tourism depends on natural resources. If we exhaust them, tourism is finished too.
Just words for now, but it's a local vision in line with the aims of this global summit, a united effort of business leaders, conservationists and government before it's too late.
An Indonesian zoo has been met with international anger after a video of an orangutan smoking a cigarette went viral. ABC News reported that the video was shot last week at Indonesia's Bandung Zoo. The video depicts a man tossing a lit cigarette into the orangutan habitat, where a large orangutan picked it up and smoked it. Animal rights activists have criticized the zoo for lack of supervision. About 1 million people have signed the Change.org petition to shut down the zoo after the incident.
I got to stop right here. I'm going to make a point because this is the last story in a national news segment for me tonight anyway, because I'm going into something else about the earth wobble. But I'm going to tell you something. What do you see with that story right there? Okay? More people care about an orangutan, which has got human abilities and a brain, right? Just like humans, and are very smart, because some guy threw a cigarette in there and the orangutan smoked it. That's what people care about, instead of what you just saw about Cancun. You see the Earth's reefs are being destroyed. You see our environments being destroyed. You see our political situation a mess. But that's what people care about. 1 million people will sign a petition about somebody throwing an orangutan a cigarette, and he picks it up. It's kind of funny, actually. And he's part of, it's a smart, orangutans are not stupid. Okay, like chimpanzees and apes, they're very intelligent beings. Okay, animals. And 1 million people, animal activists, this is what they care about. I mean, for real. An orangutan smoking a cigarette, 1 million people, because there was not enough zoo supervision on, because an orangutan picked up and smoked a cigarette. It's actually pretty cool. He's smart enough to know what to do with it. He didn't turn it around and stick it in his mouth and burn himself, did he? No, he picked it up and he smoked a damn cigarette. That's how smart he is. Okay. But instead, 1 million people on Change.org, which is George Soros' organization, will sign a petition to go after some Asian zoo. I mean, people are nuts. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, come on. This is my point. People got their priorities up their ass while the planet itself is being destroyed, while our country's rights are being ripped away. 1 million people are signing petitions about an orangutan smoking a cigarette and that the zoo needs better protection. What is wrong with that picture? You probably saw a bunch of people smoking before, and they pick up what they do. They're very smart, beings. They're not, come on. For real. People got their priorities like really up their ass. 1 million animal act. Now, if I saw an animal being harmed, or whatever, I'm right there with you. But smoking a cigarette? You got to be kidding me. People starving all over the planet. our own country in disarray, all types of stuff. You can't pick a better topic to sign 1 million people on a petition, but that'll go viral. An orangutan smoking a cigarette will go viral. He shared, anyway, an article about how the Earth's magnetosphere is breaking down. And as I've been trying to tell everybody, that's what's causing this magnetic reversal and the breakdown of our magnetosphere. So I want to get into something else that's part of this problem is the Earth wobbling. Okay? And something huge is causing that problem.
There is something happening on Earth and throughout the vastness of space that the observant eye is able to recognize. What is happening in these times has manifested itself in the form of signs and warnings that are directed towards the occupants of this world. One of the signs that warns of planetary change can be found in the increased Earth wobble, which can also be associated with the shifting of the Earth's axis, where even a slight tilt could severely affect the Earth's climate. It is much like a chain reaction where one extreme circumstance affects another, which will eventually lead to catastrophic consequences on the planet. The consensus that the Earth's axis has shifted is a belief that is widely held, but for a host of reasons, which includes scientific theory and analysis. One theory proposes that an axial shift is associated with melting ice sheets, which are fueled by climate change and the movement of water on the Earth's surface, which would affect the distribution of planetary mass, which in turn would affect the Earth's axis. It could be said that the concept of a shifting axis could ultimately add to the effects of climate change on a planet that is already on the brink of chaos. We know that the world's weather is becoming more extreme than at any point in the modern era. It is understood from observations conducted by climatologists that the ice sheets are melting. Sea levels are rising in effect due to the decline of land-based glaciers and ice caps, which are affecting coastal shorelines and contributing to inland tidal flooding. As a result of extreme climate change, the winters are becoming increasingly wet and frigid, while the summers are becoming increasingly hot and dry. Seasonal changes are now occurring much sooner, especially in the northern latitudes, while defying the Earth's normal orbital time frame. Although there appears to be conclusive data to support the conception that climate change is affecting the balance of the Earth, there is another conceivable reason for the imbalance. The presence of an exoplanet or two that are comparable to a large brown dwarf are now thought to exist within the solar system. In theory, if something significant were to exist at close enough distance, it could have a tremendous effect on our world. The concept of a Planet X, or Nibiru, existing somewhere in the remoteness of space is a testament of one's belief and of their own personal observations and knowledge that convinces them that this planet is real and that the writings of the ancient scribes that attest to its existence must therefore be true. What is so distressing about the Planet X hypothesis is that there are those people who continue to put dates on its arrival. But we all know that in reality, there are no timetables for such events. Rather than making up dates for the arrival of a celestial presence, the emphasis should be placed on the indicators that point to its arrival. Those indicators being the escalation and the intensification of the Earth changes. This is precisely the message that I have attempted to convey to our listening audience. While the scientific world tries to build a climate change consensus that explains why the Earth is shifting, private researchers are building a consensual basis that points to outside forces that explain the increased wobble and the axial shift. One of the best indicators of an erratic Earth wobble can be found through personal observation of the sky and the movement of the celestial stars. The Inuit elders of the North were among the first group of observers to notice the strange tilt of the Earth and how the sky has changed.
Says, I've lived here all my life and have also watched the sun, the Inuit elders. And these are people you can trust. These are people who are not going to come on and make up stories and tell you how the planet has changed and they're one of the, oldest living beings on the planet. Man, people, this is the kind of information and truth that people need to piece together with the other type of information, as you'll see in this video, because we have the Earth, it is tilting. Our poles are shifting. Our magnetic field is breaking down. I know people don't want to believe that, and I know it's already, this is not some joke. I've lived here all my life and has also watched the sun, where it rises and not changed much, but the sunset has shifted way over. Perhaps the Earth has tilted on its axis, he says. Look at the sun in his picture right there from this video, and this is an older video from last year. If you look at the sun in this picture right above here, you will notice it has these cross. You can see that there's a sun simulator and something else going on with our sun for it to even look like that. It's prisming out. Okay? Look at that sun in that picture that far where they are, okay, on the planet, on the pole. And you can look at that sun right there and see clearly. You can see clearly that is not normal. It's like people need to see, it's like they need to have it right in their face and smacked in their head to realize what's going on and that things are changing and things are different. And if you are one of those people that do get it, you noticed a few years back things just started to not be the same anymore, not feel the same anymore. People, the planet's not the same anymore. The sun's not the same anymore. The moon's not the same. Everything is changed, and it's changing drastically. And have wanted to talk about these changes to the sun and the environment, he says. The Earth has changed its tilt. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I do know the sun used to set close to the highest mountain peak. After the shift, the sun now sets past the highest peak. I believe fully that the Mayan calendar in 2012 is when this shift really started to begin. And that's what it was all about, because it was surrounded, the Mayan calendar was surrounded, and the sun, that they believed the Mayans worshiped the sun. 2012, everybody thought the Earth was going to blow up or be hit or struck or da-da-da-da-da. No, these changes that started to take place are ones that you're not going to see on a mass scale. Okay? Meaning, in other words, it's like some asteroid or the Earth's coming to an end or things of that nature. It is frequency-wise, it's dimension-wise, it is everything. And this other system in our system, and I have a theory, and I am preparing a show to show you this theory that I have about this nemesis system and our system, and thus the two binary, one sun and another sun. And what's really happened is I believe we swapped. I believe we're swapping. And I'll leave it at that. What I mean by that is our moon, our planets, our everything, our solar system, okay? And the nemesis solar system, which is what it is. It's not just a planet, it's a solar system. The one orbiting on this plane around us here was the nemesis system. And this is our system spinning the way it is, and it's orbiting. I believe we went and we're shifting into nemesis system's orbit, okay? The longer orbit, okay? And I believe that's what's killing our sun, because the nemesis system is sucking it dry. It's energizing, and then it's going to go, thump, we're going to go thump into its 3,700-year orbit. And I believe that's why they're rushing to get off of our planet, because it will adjust the Earth. The Earth is not going to be able to stay the same with the pole shift that's coming with this. I think they had it wrong all along. They keep thinking that the nemesis system comes up, slingshots around our sun, and leaves. No, I think the system comes up, and we switch and go in its orbit while it stays where we are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. It's a ricochet effect. In other words, everybody keeps looking at the nemesis or planet, Nibiru system. It is not just one planet. It is an entire solar system like ours. So each sun, they have binary twins. So they have twin solar systems, so to speak. Okay? And that's why one looks like, it's coming in, they say it looks like a comet with a tail. We look like a comet with a tail when you look at us in space, because people believe that we go like this. No, the sun travels through space like this, and we whiz behind the tail. Just like that. We're orbiting around the sun's tail. That's what's keeping us orbiting to begin with. So when this other system comes in, which is on its elongated orbit, its binary twin, I believe we shift spots. That system comes in, and the crop circles sort of prove this as well. So that they come and they show you that it switches in, if you looked at the crop circles in some of the shows I've done. So I've come up with this theory, and it all matches. So when they show you coming in, people expect to see this big, how do I want to say, big crash with the Earth and all this craziness. No. We're shifting spots. In other words, we're going to start to go in this 3,700-year elongated orbit, while the other one, the other binary twin, gets juiced up and moves forward. We're swapping positions is what's happening. And I don't mean just one planet. The solar systems are swapping positions. And it makes, yes, a lot of people can die from this. There is a pole shift happening. There is a pole shift happening, and that's why I'm showing you this video. Again, this is a new video, by the way. Not the Inuit video, the entire video I'm showing you. Because what you're watching is the magnetosphere breaking down. Okay? The sun is basically dying when it's in its minimal. It's producing more radiation, okay? And something large is causing that to happen. We have sun simulators in place, not just one, many, okay? In place to produce sunlight on this planet. You will see what I'm talking about, and it's going to get worse, and I guarantee you I am right on the money. And we are in this 7-year, if you want to call it the tribulation period, and I believe that's what they discuss in the Bible. It's not just about Jesus Christ or all the above. We are switching. And I believe it started in 2012, like the Mayan calendar said, because the clock stopped. The Mayan calendar clock stopped in 2012. And if you look at their drawings, it all surrounds the sun, just like the Sumerian tablets show the sun and our planets. And then it shows you another, if you look carefully, another system coming in, and they have a pulley there in the Sumerian tablets, and they show people going towards the sun. In other words, that the sun controls all. And they show two different types of suns. One's very bright with a star in it, and one's just a sun. That's because one sun gets the energy from the other binary twin, and it powers itself up so that it can make its 3,700-year orbital change and go through its path and things in life. I mean, so, excuse me, it can go through its path and we go the opposite way. And if you've noticed, the asteroids have gone up over the past year and into 28, how many have come? New ones popping up almost all the time and then letting you know 24 hours in advance. Hey, by the way, a new asteroid just spotted so-and-so ago, named this, is about to come this close to the Earth. We have more fireballs. We have more, the weather is just changing all over the planet. The jet stream is changing. The magnetosphere is changing. This is not just some coincidence. Yes, Michael, exactly. My theory is moving into a different energetic region of the galaxy. Exactly. But still part of the same binary system. That is my theory. And I believe that's why it's going to take X amount of time for this swap to take place. And as we move away from where we normally have been in the galaxy, you're going to continue, you're going to see lots of changes. And now all of a sudden they came out and said, we have a new moon with our moon, because now we have new objects in our solar system, okay? Because we're intermingling with this other system. It's our sun's binary twin. It's not just one planet. It's a solar system. I mean, the Nemesis system is said to have 7+ planets and moons and things of that nature. I believe it. Okay? And I would rather believe an ancient tablet, okay, and the common sense and brain that I have and the evidence that's taking place, along with other evidence, then I would rather believe some new asshole scientist that comes on the mainstream media pushing the narrative that it's global warming and, Al Gore's theory and it's humans' fault. Do I believe in polluting the planet? No, we have destroyed this planet and we keep destroying this planet, which is very sad. But at the same time, these other major planetary changes, no one can stop. No one can stop. No one can stop, and they are not a cause by Americans, by humans. No way, no how. And one of our members just brought up a fun fact that I know, but I will say it. NASA, I don't think that's fun though. NASA means to deceive in Hebrew. Just saying. He states that the stars are also in the wrong position. Like I'm trying to tell you, we're shifting in the galaxy. I'm going to say this again about light. We have already proved they are using a sun simulator. We have light coming from a sun simulator as we speak, along with regular sunlight, as well as this process is taking place in what they call the long minimal. We are already getting sunlight from a simulator in combination with our normal sun. Please listen to what I'm telling you. And we've proven this in other videos, and so have many other people.
It has long been considered by sky gazers that the north pole of the Earth's spinning axis pointed to a star which is called Polaris, the North Star. But according to recent observations, the wobble has progressed, which could be a strong indicator that a major shift is in the works. If this were the case, we may actually see a gradual change of the North Pole from Polaris to Vega, which is the second brightest star in the celestial northern hemisphere. In the ancient days of Egypt, the North Star was Thuban, located in the constellation Draco, which almost exactly pinpointed the position of the North Celestial Pole back in the 2nd millennium BC. What would a change in the position and movement of the stars represent? And what effect would it have on humanity?
Listen.
In the simplest terms, this is what it means. The world is moving into a new era, a new age in which our souls will be enlightened as we complete our journey across the solar system. We will come to better understand the changes that are happening on Earth when the North Star trades places in the constellations. The mysterious and sudden disappearance of the waters in South America and elsewhere is a strong indicator of how intense the wobble phenomena has become. The unusual behavior of king tides may also indicate the existence of an erratic Earth wobble. There have been a series of explanations given for the strange behavior of the tides. We know what they are: super blue moons, hyperstorms or upper atmospheric disturbances in the jet stream, maybe a shift in the direction of the winds. All of these reasons have been forthcoming, but they just aren't convincing enough to conclude that this is a normal occurrence that could be caused by any of the aforementioned explanations. If you are someone who believes in prophetic meaning, then maybe the words of St. Hildegard in this old prophecy provide the explanation that you have been searching for. If you follow the words and their meaning, the prophecy may bring to...
I'm going to stop and read it as it goes because this is very important. The comet, by its tremendous pressure, will force much out of the ocean and flood many countries, causing much want and many plagues. After the great comet, the great nation will be devastated by earthquakes, storms, and great waves of water, causing much want and plagues.
To light the devastation wrought by the historical Atlantic hurricanes of 2017, where tidal flooding and relentless rains.
The ocean will also flood many other countries so that all coastal cities will live in fear, with many destroyed. All sea coastlines will be fearful of many of them that will be destroyed by tidal waves, and most living creatures will be killed, even those who escape to die from this horrible
caused inhabitants to seek higher ground.
Prophecy of St. Hildegard. That's dead on the money. That prophecy is dead on the money, and if you really read it, it's already happening, along with many of the things stated in the book of Revelations as well. I believe people live in serious denial, and they're going to live in such denial that it's way too late, and I believe that's what they mean in the Bible. It's not just about Christ. It's not just that they live in denial. They're non-believers. They're non-believers. Instead, they believe that they need to sign a petition for a smoking orangutan. Well, good for him. I hope he enjoyed his cigarette.
If there is a celestial presence contributing to the movement of the oceans, then the changes will progress as the presence gets closer. Although the appearance of a celestial entity has yet to be seen by the naked eye, there have been a series of warning signs that have been spent, including the September 2017 sign of Virgo, which is thought to usher in the beginning of the 7-year period prior to the end of the earth as we...
Boom. Like I said, 7-year period. 7-year period. That's why I keep trying to tell everybody why we're doing survival group, Atlas City, everything. So people can understand it is happening, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
We know it, known as the time of tribulation. The other sign being the Great American Eclipse of August 2017, which is thought to have been a heavenly warning directed to the people of the Americas that something very significant would occur in our near future. What warnings are being manifest at this time require a substantial shift in one's consciousness to a higher state, a time in which to get one's spiritual house in order, so to speak. This is also a time in which those powers who are aware of what is coming will manufacture false flags and societal chaos to divert our attention.
Boom! One of the best points of this video is right here. People ask why there's more shootings, more bombings, more terrorist threats. It's not just about financial gain and all the above. It's about distraction. That's what wars are about, these crazy stories on the news as well, the drama, everything. The world powers that be and countries thereof know what's happening and on its way. Not even on its way, it's here. It's just going to get worse, as are these false flag operations, because to them, they know the information at the top. They don't want us to know or even look up. They don't want you to look up. They don't want you to notice the difference in the water. They don't want you to notice the difference in the snow. They don't want you to notice the difference in the flooding. They don't want you to notice the difference in the uptake of the earthquakes that the USGS keeps knocking down much lower than what they really are. Distract and deceive. Distract and deceive. They want you looking at all this other instead of what's really happening. And that's why I have told you false flags and wars and things are going to increase, because they do not want the average person figuring out what is really going on. And that's why MFA is so important to me, to get the truth out to people, to get them in a survival group so that they can share and get even more information together and get it spread all over as much as possible. That's what's happening. I'm telling you.
Just about everything that happens in this world is a wait-and-see game that has to be played out to its fulfillment. Only then shall we know what we are up against. Rather than placing trust in timelines that only serve as...
I'm here to distract you. Great video. Good job on Skywatch Media News.
As a distraction from the most important issues that face us today, we should seek the signs and the indicators that will help guide us in our journey through these tumultuous times. Earth changes and weather anomalies are escalating at an incredibly fast pace, and a great deal of what's happening is not being fully or accurately reported by the mainstream cable news outlets. And that is why the internet has become such an important source of information. If we end up losing it through censorship or by means of a catastrophe, then we will only be left with our instincts and our intuition to help survive the changes coming our way. As always, there is so much to cover. Let's review some of the incredible happenings from across the globe for the beginning of March. The east coast of the United States was once again in the grasp of a huge nor'easter storm, which meteorologists refer to as a bomb cyclone. The powerful storm, called Winter Storm Riley, was relentless, causing a 4-foot storm surge and winds reaching hurricane force strength. Power was knocked out to more than 1.5 million residents in the path of the storm. Officials in Massachusetts are indicating that this storm was more powerful and more damaging than the storm that struck the region on January 4th of this year. On March 2nd, the third highest tide on record rushed over the seawalls and into the streets of coastal communities. At the same time a tidal surge was pounding the coast of Massachusetts, tidal rivers along the coast of North Carolina were disappearing. 2 rivers which flow into Pamlico Sound were virtually dry, as shown in these images. The receding of the waters has become a perturbing phenomenon, It seems that unusual winds and full moon tides are having a strange effect on the...
Because we're shifting. Everything is shifting. And this is going to get worse, and they don't want you to pay attention to this. This is mainstream media news type stuff here, and it's making none of it. Makes no stations, makes no mainstream media. They do not want to show you or tell you anything of what's going on this planet, and especially in the United States. There was over 1 million people without power from the last nor'easter, and it's only going to get worse. You think the power grid's going to take this? Just get ready. What did I tell everybody about? I told everybody about Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, all these West Indies islands and the Caribbean islands that got smashed, right, by the hurricanes. They're only going to rebuild them so much because they're about to get smashed again. And Puerto Rico just got smashed again by a rogue wave, one of the largest waves to ever hit. No, was the largest wave to ever hit Puerto Rico, and knocked out a bunch of its power again and other amenities and things of that nature. As I told you, when that hurricane happened last year and all the devastation, they will not fully rebuild all these islands. Like St. Martin, the French just said, they're not rebuilding most of these places. They're starting a little bit, but they're not rushing it because they know they're not going to be here anymore.
Of the waters. But it could be that other factors are playing a role in this mysterious phenomenon.
I was asked, do you think they know what will happen, the end game? Do you think that New World Order and the governments know what will happen, the end game? Of course they know. What have we all been talking about here for over a year? Of course they know. And the beginning part of this video is telling you they're distracting you from what's really going on because they don't want you to see shit like this. They don't want you to see shit like this. That's of course the end game. That's of course the end game. They know. If they didn't know, this stuff would be all over mainstream media. This is big phenomenon stuff going on here. And they just slowly change how the weather is and what you call a nor'easter. Now it's a bomb cyclone. You know, for real? For real. They're not idiots. These people are not idiots. New World Order, the globalists, are not idiots. They wouldn't be where they are if they were idiots. Pay attention. They know. And they know well. And they don't like people like me or organizations like MFA and others who are truthers to put the truth out there to help more people know the truth. Because the more people that know the truth, the bigger the threat against them becomes.
Like I said earlier, the explanations that are given are not very convincing because this is a fairly new and misunderstood phenomenon. The provided explanations fail to tell the complete story of what is happening on the planet and in our atmosphere. And it is therefore up to each of us to try and figure out what's going on. On January 10th of this year, I published a video describing how the axis of rotation is off balance, which in effect is causing the ocean waves to slosh, similar to what you would see if you took a glass bowl and moved it about, causing the water inside of that bowl to become unstable. The same effect is happening on the planet. It's called oceans in opposition. A perfect example of this phenomena happened in the first week of March. While the water was receding along the east coast of the United States, uncovering the likes of a centuries-old shipwreck, other parts of the world experienced enormous waves not seen in decades.
I just said March 5th.
On the 4th and 5th of
March 5th, Puerto Rico, out of the blue. March 5th. We're on the 11th. This massive tsunami came in from out of nowhere. Okay, glass bottle of glass, take a glass jar or a glass and fill it with water. You see what's happening? And on a blue marble, when you just tilt that a little bit or wobble it a little bit, because the strain on the earth is so bad, this is what you get.
The March, waves 30 feet in height, slammed into Puerto Rico and Venezuela.
And
these waves were bigger than those produced by Hurricane Maria when it hit as a Category 4 storm in the summer of 2017.
You paying attention?
The bombogenesis storm Riley was so immense that huge waves severely affected the coastlines of northern South America, the east coastline of Central America, the eastern Caribbean islands, and the east coast of the United States. In northern Europe, the temperatures are so frigid that the canals of Amsterdam, which are normally flowing, have frozen over solid, allowing skaters to crisscross the ice in what is now a frozen wonderland. There are telltale signs that the Earth is opening up and swallowing everything in its path. This is not unique to certain countries or regions. It is happening all over the world. An unexplained geological event occurred just prior to March 1st. It happened in desertic Saudi Arabia. The deep crack, which is 656 feet in duration and still growing, was recently discovered.
You're paying attention? This stuff's just happening. February 28th. This is going on all over the world. This is going on all over the world. Yeah, a lot of elite are going underground. And a lot of elite, and don't kid yourself with all these space launches and things of that nature. They're getting out of here, and they're getting prepared to get out of here over the next 7 years. And it's not just going underground. Trust what I tell you. We have capabilities. We have bases already on the moon and Mars and everywhere else. Don't kid yourself. Okay, and they're using Elon Musk, as I try to tell everybody. He's the front man for all of this, pushing this and rushing all of this. Just what I'm trying to tell you, using the technology that we already have and bringing it to the public in a very rapid pace, actually. Okay. These are happening all over. It's not just Saudi Arabia. They're happening all over the planet. The planet is moving. It's moving. It's being pulled and torn apart, and it's being radiated at the same time, and that's why you're getting so many more chemtrails. I'm telling you. Everybody keeps, yes, they're put shit in there that any kind of poison harms humans. The main reason is to stop the radiation coming in here. I'm telling you. That's why they use aluminum.
In an area north of Riyadh. Geologists are currently investigating the strange ground fissure, which is the length of 2 football fields placed side by side, and which has split the Earth in 2.
And that's no sinkhole, by the way. These big earth cracks are happening all over. And to form a crack like that, you know what it takes? Let me tell you something. The plates are all moving here. Everything's shifting. Everything is shifting. And hence the water. Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Brazil, you can go up the line everywhere. All the oceans are shifting and being pulled over here and then shoved over here. It's like he showed, a fishbowl full of water, and it sloshes all over the place. I keep telling everybody, if you can and you live on the coast, if you can, over the next 3 years, move as soon as possible from coastal regions in the United States. Do whatever you got to do. I'm telling you now. Just shift inland. That's why we're pressing to get MFA Official's main webpage comes up over the next week. We're almost there. Kim's done a great job. And we're wrapping that up, and we're going right into the Survival Group and Survival Group store, because people need to get together in a group and survival. It doesn't mean you have to be at Atlas or anywhere else. You need to have to be prepared to survive. And I don't mean water in your basement. I mean, bottled water saved in your basement or someplace of that nature. That's only a little part of it. There's much more. I'm telling you, I'm putting together a video of all the bizarre Earth changes, okay, that have gone on in the past 2 months alone. Michael, I'm off Long Island myself. Done. I own a property there in the Hamptons with someone else. I want out. I want out. I want my family off the coast. Everything. Well, you can tell your friends and they can laugh. They won't be laughing when they got water up their ass and they're waking up and their shit's floating in their bedroom. Trust what I'm telling you. People can laugh all they want. Let the doubters laugh. How much evidence do you have to keep seeing? This is my point. If you even look up at the sun on a regular basis for the past 2 years, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. The clouds, the storms, the earthquakes, the cracks in the earth. I mean, tidal waves, hurricanes that are biblical strength, snowstorms, biblical strength. I mean, if you've got to be an idiot to not see this stuff. You have to be a blinded fool. And that's nothing against anybody's family members, but that don't believe. Blinded. You want to know why? It's not their fault, so to speak. Because they've been fed propaganda. They don't want to believe the truth, and they live in denial. So they say, it doesn't matter. Deception. Look over here. Well, what's really going on is over here. Thus the false flags, the more control, the chips, the guns. It all goes together. Because when the shit hits the fan, you think they want all these people armed running around? Scap looking for food, economy fail, all kinds of great stuff, and the planet's changing, and everything's a mess. People have to worry about other people coming at you if you have a food and a safe place to be. Okay, just like that movie, The Living Dead, The Walking Dead, excuse me. Just like that. I know it sounds crazy, but believe me.
In a village located in the provincial highlands near Cusco, Peru,
the
population is living on high alert. In a terrifying scene straight out of the movie 2012, dozens of giant cracks in the ground are swallowing up houses, fields, and vegetation. More than 53 giant cracks have developed in large part due to perpetual earthquakes and rains that have destabilized this area since 2012. An emergency plan has been deployed.
Since when? 2012 it started. 2012. Do you know how much stuff started on this planet since 2012 that has never happened before or never been seen? Okay? There's a big continent shift going on over here in Peru. You have Saudi Arabia cracking. There's many more across the globe. Okay? Some of them smaller than others, bigger. Everything has been started, if you go from 2012 to current now, and you look at it all, of what's transpired and changed. And even the Innu, as I told you, they didn't recall what year, but it was close to, that's an older video, that around the same time, 2012, sun shifts, tilt, it's all been in process. And that's why you're going to see more wars, false flags, distractions, crazy stories in the news about porn stars and all. They don't want anybody to look at anything except for the drama and get them sucked right in there. Just get them sucked right in. Serious. When I'm done with this at the end of the video, I'll take Q&A and I'm going to tell you a story about distraction and how they do it with people here in Vegas with something.
To help the victims of this dramatic geological phenomenon.
So now I'm going to tell you something. In Las Vegas, they have started over the past couple of years, and now more this year than last 7/27 into 2018. They keep changing the slot machines. You know, the old-fashioned cool ones, even though they did, some digital stuff. You pull the handle. Now you sit down, and I don't play slots, but now you sit down at these big computerized machines, and they're all digital, and they suck you in. You're in a comfortable chair. The chair vibrates like a video game. And you want to know why? People love the experience. They're sucked into that world. They have the Walking Dead game. They got all these things. Batman, Pac-Man, and you're in these things. To suck people in, what do? They keep robbing them of their money and really giving them nothing in return but some BS video type experience. And they think they're going to win, and they just keep sticking in money, and they're being taken for a ride. It's all distraction. Distraction is the best way. That's what they do best, is distract. What's the same thing? Get everybody high. Everybody take drugs. Everybody do this. Why do you think they let the drugs in this country? Plus they use the money for the black ops. Okay? Then they create and do more that you need drug treatment and you need this and you need that. It's like cancer. They could cure cancer tomorrow. Did they want to cure cancer? Hell no. Keeps killing people on the planet. People have to suffer. They got to buy more drugs from Big Pharma. They got to go to the hospitals, get more, money to doctors and the whole bit, and da-da-da-da-da. And notice, as I told you, my predictions from late 2017 on New Year's was that you were going to start to see more pandemics, more disease and illness. You're starting to see it all over the place, and why people go, even to the mumps spreading like crazy. Okay? Even to the mumps, something as simple as the mumps killing off tons of people, and other diseases that are around the planet, popping up all over the place. And then they say you got to get vaccinated, you see? So then when they vaccinate you, that even poisons you even more. I think that it helps you for the moment. And then they get other people to get vaccinated that aren't even sick, because then they're poisoning them. And people just don't want to accept this. It's right there. Nobody has to make it up. We don't have to make this shit up. It's right here for everyone to see, if they would pay attention. But you see, they're so distracted by everything else that they're deliberately putting in your face that you don't see what's really going on. Much love.